So if you just see my face for the very first time, my name is Flora. I make videos in the United Kingdom and I make videos about my life experiences living here in the UK. In this video, I'm just going to be talking about why I would choose the nurse associate route to becoming a nurse, as opposed to going to university to do my 3 years nursing course as it is right now, to becoming a nurse. Why I'd rather go through the NA route than being a student nurse and obviously qualifying as a nurse eventually. So without any further ado, let's just swipe straight into this video. So why you should consider studying as a nurse associate as opposed to going to university and being a student nurse before you then qualify. Now, one of the major reasons, if not the most important reason why a lot of people, and if I was to do my nursing now, why I'd go through the nurse associate route is because of the financial implication of it. Now, I'll just give you a breakdown of what nurse associates are. This role is only regulated if you live in England. At the time that I'm making this video, this route is only available to those that live in England. Perhaps in the future it might be open to other parts of the UK, but just for you guys to be aware. Now, what a nursing associate, or what is a nursing associate role? A nurse associate is basically the bridging gap between a healthcare assistant or a healthcare support worker and a nurse. So they're like the middlemen, they're like in between. So they can do slightly more than, they can do what a healthcare assistant can do and more, and they can do a little bit of what nurses can do. So they could do more than a healthcare assistant, and they can do a little bit of what nurses can do. So they're like in the middle. And why a lot of people would prefer to, you know, go through the nursing associate route is, number one, it's a foundation degree. Your level of writing is not expected to be a level 6. If you go to university to study nursing, I believe it's level 6, or is it level 7? I'll correct myself, you know, eventually, but I think it's level 6, because obviously you're studying at the bachelor's degree level, so your referencing must be on point, your citations must be on point, your level of writing, obviously you got that dissertation to write when you get to year 3, should be, you know, on point. But if you're not an academia, if, you know, studying is not really your kind of thing, you're more of a practical kind of person, don't get me wrong, and when you're studying as a nurse at university, you will have placement, and you know, it's, when I did my nursing anyways, it was 50-50, so you have 50% theory work and you have 50% placement. And what would normally do is you probably have 4 months at uni, you know, studying, and then you have 4 months, and then they'll give you an assignment which you have to submit at a later date, and then the next 4 months you'll be on placement. Now, this placement you go for, you work 37.5 hours a week. It is full-time work and you don't get paid for it. Whereas if you went down the nurse associate route, when you eventually finish, you don't qualify as a band 5, so you're not a registered nurse, but you qualify as a nursing associate, which is a band 4, just one level, you know, below. But you study and then you work, and when you work you get paid for what you do. So I believe with nursing associate, I believe they spend one day at college or whatever it is they go to. They spend one day, I believe it is, one day studying, and then the, you know, other 3 days, whatever it is, they spend those days working, and you get paid for what you do. So if you're working 37.5 hours a week, which you'd most likely be doing, 7.5 hours might be your study time, which is that one day that you're studying, then you probably have to just work 30 hours. Because at the end of the day, 7.5 hours you need to. So if you've done 7.5 hours of studying for one day, and then the remaining 30 hours would be for working on the wards or whatever setting that you work in. But whatever you do, you get paid for it. Now, it doesn't just stop there. Eventually, you know, it's at the end of the day, it's a 2-year foundation degree course that you do, and when you finish you get a PIN number, you know, which means that you're regulated by the Nursing and Midwifery Council. Back in the day, when I first heard about nursing associate role, they weren't regulated by NMC, they weren't regulated by the Nursing and Midwifery Council, which meant that they weren't held accountable. But now you're a professional, you're held accountable, so you're valued, you're as important as everyone else on the ward, as important as a nurse, a doctor, whatever it is you're looking, you know, up to, whatever. You're equally as important because you have a PIN to protect. you have a patient to, you know, to save, and you have a quality of care to provide to these patients. So after your 2 years, obviously after your 2 years of being paid whilst you're working, you finish, and then you qualify as a nurse associate, and you're band 4. Whereas if you're a student nurse, you go to university, in your 3 years of study, you don't get paid for that. You owe the government, or you owe student finance if you don't pay your fees. I believe it's £9,000 a year. It might be more than that, to be honest. So you pay for your fees. Luckily in the UK, you can go through the, you know, student loan route. So you get a loan, student loan, that's what it's called. You don't get to pay back until you qualify as a nurse and you earn a certain amount of money. And trust me, when you do qualify as a nurse, you're going to be earning that certain amount of money, because, you know, you're going to earn it because you're a nurse. Anyways, and what they do is they take the money off your accounts. If you get paid monthly, they take it like tax. So when they take tax, and then they take the student loan. And if you've gone ahead with student finance, which is another you know, loan that people take separately for their maintenance and things like that, you've got to pay that as well. So the difference between being a nurse associate and being a student nurse is that if you're a nurse associate trainee, you know, you study and you get paid for the work you do on the wards. The only thing is when you finish at the band 4. Whereas as a student nurse, you go to university, you do your placement, you know, you do your work, it's, you know, higher level of work. You don't get paid, you know, for that. You got to pay for your fees, because it's not free. It's not like nursing associate row. You know, you got to pay for your fees, and then when you come out as a band 5, so a level higher. But then you've got that fees, you know, you've got that payment to do, because you borrowed money, isn't it? You've got that payment to do. Now if you got a mortgage to pay, you can't, it's almost not realistic to, you know, study as a student, because if you got house rent to pay, if you got children to feed, if you got a family to, if you got responsibilities, basically it's going to be really difficult to be a student nurse. And to be a student nurse, because it's just what it is. You know, you're really soaked into it. And when I tell you that you have competency to achieve, so your mentor has to say you've achieved it. If your mentor feels like you haven't achieved something, that's probably you repeating that placement and repeating that coursework. If your, you know, lecturer feels like you haven't done what you should be doing. So there's so much pressure for you to accomplish so much within a short period of time. And if you have other financial responsibility, if you decide that, okay, your work is 37.5 hours a week, you've done your placement hours for that week, and you know you need a little bit of money. When you do go to work, you can't work as a nurse. You have to work as a band 2, which is a healthcare assistant, or a band 3 at most, which is a healthcare support worker. Or if you used to be a band 4, then lucky for you, you can work as a band 4. But then that's probably just one day of that weekend that you'd work, because you'd probably be too tired to do any extra shift other than what you've already done, because mind you, you've done your 37.5 hours of placement work. Another thing that I've been told as well, with, you know, from, you know, people that have done the nurse associate route, you know, for the fact that you're training and you're studying at the same time, you get to know a lot of people. If you're working, for example, on the wards, you get to know a lot of people. By the time you finish, you know, hospitals are now open to, you know, sending people to university and paying for their fees to complete that extra 20 to 24 months of studying, which once they've done, they now become a band 5. Now for me, that seems like a better plan, because I know it might take a bit longer. It might mean that you're spending 4 years studying nursing, but in that 4 years you're not paying a dime, if you look at it that way. And quite honestly, you know, once you become a band 4 and you know you're very grounded in what you do, like I said, the hospital can decide, okay fine, we'll send it to uni for you to upgrade your skills to band 5. Before you know it, you've done that, you're already a band 5 nurse. Before you know, you're a band 6 sister on the ward, or even a specialist nurse in a particular field that you want to do. Before you know, you're a band 7. Before you know, the sky is your limit. Don't get me wrong, with nursing, you know, it's a faster route, but if you've got, like I said, you've got responsibility, it can be a little bit difficult with being a nursing student to like go to university. A lot of people that have done, a lot of people that I've seen gone through the nursing student route to becoming a nurse, they live with their parents, they don't really have much responsibilities. A lot of people that I've seen going through the nursing student route, they probably have mortgage to pay, they probably have kids to look after, so it's more it's the more affordable lifestyle to you know, to get in their career goals, a more affordable way to go. But likewise depend on you. But I just wanted to bring that information out there, that it is out there. Nurse associates can work anywhere. They can work in mental health, you know, institutions. They can work in adult institutions. They can work in pediatrics. They can work in primary care. They can work in community. Oh, there's so many places that they can work, and they do so much. You know, they can catheterize. The only thing that I feel like they can't do is PGDs, which is basically patient group directives. So which is like giving medications that are not prescribed by a prescriber. But I think those are the things that they can't do. But to be honest, some organizations will let them do it anyways. I think it depends on the trust or the relationship you have with your hospital or your organization, or the trust that they have in you, or the competency that you've had to sign to say you're happy to do this. But being a nurse, I should say, you're working pretty much like a nurse. You know, you're assessing patients. The ones that I've seen on the wards and wherever I've seen them, they're pretty much working as a nurse. Don't get me wrong, there are a few things obviously in primary care. There are a few things that most of them can't do, which is fine, because obviously at the end of the day, they're not, you know, level 5, they're not band 5s, but they can do a whole lot. And you know, they're very much valued. You know, wherever setting they work in, they're very much valued, they're very much experienced. The thing about, you know, the work that we do as nurses and working in a healthcare setting is, once you start doing it, you know, you're forever like soaked into it. Once you start doing it, you become more experienced as time goes on, and you know, knowledge is power. Once you start, you know, reading as well, you know, you become knowledgeable. What can I say? So that's why a lot of people want to go through the nursing associate route to becoming a nurse, as opposed to going to university studying as a nurse. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if for any reason, God forbid, you fail one module, that's you repeating that module, and that could even be you spending 4 years at university. So what are we talking about? You know, if money is not your problem, then, you know, feel free, you know, go and like do your nursing, and like if you haven't got responsibilities as such. But if you've got responsibilities, working going through the nursing associate route to becoming a nurse might be a better option. Another thing I just want to mention is for you to get seconded by your organization to be an apprentice and, you know, train as a nursing associate. I think you have to be working there for a little while before they can obviously like pay for your, you know, for you to I think you have to work in there for them to be able to like, you know, give you the opportunity to, you know, train as a nursing associate, because like I said, they pay you to do that. And I also, from the people that I've heard as well, you have to have maths and English, C in maths and English. From the people that I've spoken to before about it, in terms of competencies, you know, you'd have like a mentor, I believe, just someone that can sign you off to say, okay, you can now catheterize, or you can now do this, you can now do that, phlebotomy training, things like that, to say you can do that. So you've got to have that as well. And obviously, if you then want to progress to being a nurse eventually, after you've done your program, because like I said, I've heard a lot of people say to me, I was speaking to, you know, a third-year student the other day, a student nurse, and she said to me, oh, I've known people that have joined us in our second year, and the nursing associate, the hospital is actually paying for them to, you know, complete their course and finally become a nurse. But I think for you to get to that stage, you need to have been working for that organization for quite a while, is what I would say. But you never know, you could be lucky. And to be honest, you know, as I'm talking to you guys right now, you know, it's 20 to 24 months of extra study for you to become a nurse. You never know, in the next, the way, you know, the workforce is we're really low on nurses. There's massive staff shortages. I feel like in the coming years, or in the very near future, you probably don't even have to do 20 to 24 months. Maybe it's just going to be a thing of, you know, once you've done that 2 years foundation degree, you're band 4, maybe after 1 year you can end up doing a 1 year extra university. I think that's what it's going to be in the end, because like I said, we're very much short-staffed in almost every single hospital, you know. So they really want to get nurses, you know, in as soon as they can. And one of the reasons why the nursing associate route was brought into play in the first place was just to help nurses do more advanced stuff, to help increase the workforce. And yeah, like I said, you never know. But you know, this is just a little bit of my knowledge I'm sharing with you guys. I hope it helps for anyone that's considering, oh, should I do nursing, should I be a nursing associate? You know, this is just you know, an option. Like I said, they work in different settings. They work in GP surgeries, they work in you know, mental health, they're working on wards, they work in the community, they work everywhere. They're not limited to one area. So if this is something that you're considering, feel free. You can read a little bit more about it. I'm going to leave links down below for you to read a little bit more about the role. See if it's something that, you know, you fancy doing. Like I said, if you've got responsibility, then that is a better route, in my opinion, to go. But what am I? I'm just giving you guys my little, you know, and what I think about it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Until I come your way next time, I am Flora. Take care. Bye.